Good morning and welcome everybody to another episode of How Did You Show? I hope you're all doing well this morning. It's nice and beautiful today in Torbay, which is really good, which is always really nice and positive, especially when we're doing a podcast, so it helps with our mood. I have a little confession to make this morning for my listeners. This is the first time when I had to re-record a podcast episode, because for those who know, I have a puppy now, a big puppy. He doesn't look like it, and I was in a full puppy mode on a full zoomies last time we tried to record the episode. So with my guest, which I'll introduce in a second, we've been trying to continue talking over his zoomies and always scratches and chewing noises, but in the end we were like, now actually we would need to record this. So this time we're recording the episode. So let me introduce you to my wonderful guest. As you know, as always, I'm trying to invite very inspiring people who can add value and teach those who are listening something new. So I have a very inspiring friend with me here today. So he's an ex-Royal Navy, a multiple business owner and a mentor, Paul Selman. Hi, Paul, and welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? You all right?
I'm very good, thank you.
Second time in a week.
yes, lucky. Second time we're lucky.
That's it. Yeah, he's open.
we couldn't do this episode for a few months, which we since the first time we've discussed it. And we have a two in 1 week.
That's it. I know. See, you got to get them in. And yeah, it's a shame. The puppy is very cute. But yeah, what he did to your front room last earlier in the week was just mental.
That was proper. He was chewing toilet paper. He was going through my bin, taking Amazon delivery packages out and destroying toys.
Having a lot of fun. Enjoying life.
Well, thank you so much for understanding and for coming back on the show.
No worries.
So so as I said, that you have an inspiring story which I can't wait to share with the others. So for those who don't know you, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you, please?
Yeah, sure. No worries. But like I said, Paul Selman. I started my working life, as it were, doing all sorts of various different types of jobs in sales. I was a shoe shine boy for a little bit. That was a bit of an interesting career move. And yeah, done loads of different bits and pieces. And then I kind of went to uni and then fell into the military after that. So joined the Royal Navy when I was, I think, early 20s, 21, 22. Joined up as a weapons engineer, moved through the ranks for about 8 years, and then came out and made the leap really to be self-employed. Don't quite know how I landed in that position really as a gas engineer and just starting a gas and a plumbing business.
Wow, so like different.
Well, it was. I mean, we were engineering, so there was a bit of a synchronization there. Yeah. However, I just needed the freedom that self-employment gave me. And I think coming from that sort of military background, it was such a switch. It took me a couple of years to actually get used to it, really. But yeah, so did that then for about 8 years. And I'm still self-employed now. I think, in fact, I'm completely unemployable, to be perfectly honest. I did try a job about 3 years ago and I lasted 2 days and went straight back to my normal business again. So that's definitely something that I learned about myself there. But yeah, so that was the process really. And then in the last 3 years, I've obviously scaled up the trades-based business. So I've still got that. And the whole point of that is to scale it up and sell it. And like I said, I'm obviously involved in the property industry as well, with a property sourcing company up in Manchester. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you very much for your introduction. Now, for when you've mentioned your company, I can see a little sneaky peek of your. Can you tell us what is your company? So it's a B-Hive, but you tell us a bit more. So about your company.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's B-Hive Property. There's a few different arms to that, but like I said, the main focus of the business is actually sourcing properties for other investors, and that's in Manchester, Liverpool, and we've actually just started breaking into Leeds as well, which is good. So anywhere in the sort of major powerhouse towns of the northwest and the north in general, that's where we specialise in sourcing. I grew up and spent a little bit of my childhood up there, so when people give you advice to invest in areas then that's why I live in Kent but invest in Manchester, and Ben, my business partner, lives up there still as well.
So you've got the boots on the ground.
I do indeed, yeah. They're very busy boots as well for Ben, poor sod, but he does a cracking job. I think we were out viewing about 10 of them yesterday. We've just done another block of flats over in Liverpool as well, which we've sourced on a block of 5. So it's been quite a fast start to the year, really.
Fantastic. Well done. Yeah, I've been listening. I've been watching your journey as I do. And you've been, you and your company was thrilling during the lockdown when lots of companies got scared, especially in the property industry. You did complete opposite.
We did. I think we did about 95 deals, I think it was, throughout the first lockdown period. So that was good. So,
that's amazing. That's amazing. Well done. And do you source anything, or do you have a specific strategy you're focusing on, or?
Well, in theory, we can do. The vast majority of our investors are looking for just normal sort of buy-to-lets, and they are looking just to park money in these properties. Because I'd say probably a large proportion of our investors are actually from overseas, so they are looking to invest in the UK and keep the money there. So when you're in sort of property training, and people talking about drawing their money back out of properties, you've got to remember that sometimes with the investors, it's up to them. A lot of our investors don't want to refinance and draw their money back out, because that then gives them the problem back. So they're actually looking at just leaving it in the property. So we do quite a lot of that. In the early days, we do quite a few of HMO conversions, and we can still do that because we've got our own build team. But we're probably not doing as many as we did in that first year. I think we got through at least 8, I think it was, HMO conversions. We have sourced obviously blocks of flats now, so we are moving up slightly into that sort of commercial area, but it's just we're led by the investors. They tell us what their requirements are, and then we just go out and do our part of the job, which is sourcing it. But we have kind of streamlined and done the whole process now. So in the past couple of years, we started off just sourcing. However, now we've got a build team as well, and an in-house project manager, and so we can manage all of that process. We also have a lettings agent now as well, so we brought into a letting agent, and so we can now manage all of the ongoing lettings. So at every stage of that process now, we have got, people can stay with B-Hive, and we found that to be a massive sort of selling point, really, because they're not having to find anything, and it makes it obviously a more profitable business for us as well, really.
What's the name of it's called a one-stop shop, doesn't it? Like you basically offer, you basically offer the full package.
Yeah, and it's a good way to do it. But from a you've always got to look for an angle. I've always found in business as well. And one of the main angles of having the letting agent is actually having landlord contact details. So you get more direct to vendor leads and things like that through the contacts that are already there. Because if they're going to sell the house, they're going to tell the letting agent. So hopefully we get there first, then that's another property that we can, resource on. So always look for an angle.
Amazing. Yeah. So it looks like you are organizing your property company the way you want, which is fantastic. So you are, so is that as you are a mentor, so I would assume that you trained yourself as well, you educated yourself, or did you have any mentors in the past, or what helped you to basically get organized in business, and I think you know what I'm trying to ask.
Well, like I said, I was in the mindset, especially when I started my first business 12 years ago now, that if you just started a business, if you were good at a business, then it went well, and if you weren't, it closed. People tend to find that they train in the skill set that business requires. So I trained to be a gas engineer and went to college, got all the qualifications, but nobody ever teaches you how to run a business effectively. And that was something that was massively lacking. So 8 years down the line, I was pretty much tired, almost at burnout, just wanted to give up plumbing and heating in general, because every time I got to Christmas, I'd have a few days downtime and then think, right, this time next year, I'll be off the tools. And I would have scaled the business, and then come January, I'll just get busy again. And it never happened. So I read a book by Kevin McDonald, No Money Down, property investment one.
Fantastic.
While I was on holiday. Yeah, brilliant book. Seriously, just changed my life, that did. And it opened my eyes so much that I thought, well, I'm just going to do that. So I contacted Kevin, I got onto one of his courses, and we went from there. However, what I didn't see coming was when people go into property and they look at it as a way out of their day job. I didn't quite have a day job. It felt like that, and that's how it was structured at the time. But I did have a business. We had a client base. It had systems, albeit very small ones at the time, in place. And it was Kevin who convinced me that I should actually look to scale that up instead of just stepping away from it and letting it go. So I used the business contacts I had within Progressive. I also then went down a specific mentoring route on how to build and scale a plumbing company with somebody called Joe Belanti, who used to be one of my competitors and now runs a training company on that side of things. And I'm a firm believer in, if you're going to do anything, so I've got 4 mentors at the moment, and that's because I've got 4 different activities going on. And they've all got their great specialities and everything. And it acts as a fast track for whatever you're trying to do and whatever you're trying to achieve. And I think it just helps the process so much. It's almost a no-brainer, because I look at my time as the most valuable commodity that I have. And if I can achieve something within a year, then great. But why should I struggle at it for 5 years when I could do it in a year? So that's why I've linked into the likes of Kevin, Joe. I've had, like I said, other mentors, and we've got it's never sort of changing scenery on that level. But without those people steering me in the right direction, I wouldn't have been able to grow 2 businesses simultaneously. So yeah, that's the main benefit really of the mentorship, is that you're then aligning with other people that are a little bit higher up the tree than you in business, and they can just tell you how to do it, which is great. And now obviously as part of that process, I can then pass on that knowledge to my mentees as well. And yeah, it's going and scaling all in the right direction, really.
Amazing. Yeah, that's fantastic. And as you said, it's education is very important. I mean, like, people also say that the knowledge is power as well, and it's only just by understanding things more, and having the accountability buddy. Why would you struggle for much longer and make mistakes, which is not only it's not going to cost you time, but also going to cost you money. If somebody already made those mistakes, why don't you try? Like, it's quite, as you said, it's quite logical that especially when you're planning to scale, or even if you just want to get more organized or learn more about business, look for someone who already done it. Someone who you link with, because as well, I found that with our mentors that the people you do need to click as well, because you're going to be spending lots of time together. You need to understand each other. You need to be in the same wave. But when you found a person who you click with, fantastic. Mentorship is very important. I also learned, I've also heard, I think it was Romo who was talking about it, that you always should have a mentor which is a level above your goals, basically. So when you're making 10,000, you want to make 100,000. There we go. When you start making 100,000 and you get someone who's making 1 million. If you're making 1 million, someone who's making deca millions a month, and then obviously.
Increase it that way.
How far you want to go. Yeah, so you've got 4 mentors. That's amazing. Is that all in regards to your business, or is there anything to do with, like, fitness, mindset, or it's all business related?
No, there's 3 of them are business related. Well, actually, no, now thinking about it, I've actually got 5. So 4 of them are business related, and one's fitness. But it's any area of my life, really. And they don't always have to be paid up mentors. But you do tend to find that you get what you pay for a lot of the time, and I'm quite selective who I pick as a mentor. And as you were saying there about being different levels, so I have got some that are miles ahead of me, and I've got some that are just a couple of steps ahead of me. And also, when you look at the mentoring that I do, I'm normally aligned to one of these mentors higher up the level, and I think that helps the students, because they can. It's almost like they don't have to reach as far to believe it. So, I mean, I could look at, I don't know, likes of Alfie Best, I think, is he 500 million now? And just think, well, that's just ridiculous. How am I ever going to get from where I am now to 500 million? But, he's got mentors under him and things like that. You go, well, I'll tell you what, if we just make that first million first, and then we can sort of scale from there. So it's just picking your battles, really. Yeah, break it down. And it's good when you do see people coming through and they're not that far ahead. So, because it just gives you enough motivation just to get to that next step up. And it's nice to have somebody to believe in you enough for you to then give yourself time to believe in yourself. And that's all that you need sometimes, because it all just has to come down to that sort of confidence level.
Absolutely. So. I love that comment, because it's also not everybody has friends or family members who are same mindset, or who would be fully encouraging them or asked to, when it comes to mindset change, etc. So it's really nice to, even though if friends or family will tell you, yeah, I believe in you, that you can do this, it's a different type of belief. The people who actually really know what you're going through, people who actually know what you really want to achieve and what it involves. So when they, so yeah, it's really, it's a nice feeling when you find someone who, as you said, just believes in you and helps you to get through. Now, Paul, what do you think? Because obviously you spend quite a lot of time as well in the Royal Navy. Do you think that the Royal Navy helped at all with your discipline or your mindset before the business?
It did and it didn't. It's a sort of double-edged sword there, really. It helped with discipline. It helped to get me into the mindset of if something needs doing, we just got to do it. And that was something that I did struggle to adjust when it came to sort of moving into civilian life. And especially then when I started hiring people and stuff for myself, from the Navy background, if you get told to do something, it just gets done. Very infrequently does it not get done. Apparently civilian life doesn't work like that. People have a choice. So that was a bit of an eye-opener, really. But there was aspects of it as well, where when you're then moving from such a tight-knit team, and the mentality within the forces is that it's the team that matters and not the individual. And then when you're moving into, especially the early years of self-employment, where you are the team. So for the first 8 years in the plumbing business, I was everything from the T-boy to the managing director, head of finance. It was just everything was me. And I didn't have a confidence coming out of the Navy that I do now because I hadn't been through that process on my own. So I think that was one of the things that I can look back on now and think that I was confident in certain ways in the Navy, but it didn't really prepare me for self-employment and running a business and things like that, because I didn't naturally have 200 other people around me like I would have done on the ship just to get things done, so that did take a bit of adjustment. However, it has given me some tips now, and I can look back sort of 10-15 years now and think, oh, actually that sort of management lesson that I saw there from the officers and the people who were higher up than me in the Navy, I can now implement it into my own business. And I like, there's one of the biggest things that's changed in the last 3 years is staff levels. Like I said, they've gone from being myself doing everything. I think the plumbing business now, if you include the subcontractors, we've got about 8-9 engineers, got 3 sales staff, 2 admin staff, a manager. And then in the property world as well, I think there's 5 in the team.
Big boss now.
Well, that's just me, but like I said, it's the people that make the business. But one thing that me and Ben have both taken out of this, because Ben runs another company as well in Burnley, and obviously I've got this one in Kent. I think there's something like 6 companies between the two of us, and we've both realised that. And the first things you should do is invest into members of staff that are going to increase your revenue line, because if you don't, all you're doing is just limiting and slowing down your progress. So the moment we had enough money out of the sourcing business to hire someone, we did. And she was the best person that we could have hired completely. And she still does a lot of our investor negotiations. She still does a lot of the case progression, viewing properties. So she's worth her weight in gold. But if we hadn't made that investment and just thought, well, actually, we've got, $3,000 a month coming in now, we should just bank that, then we wouldn't have done 95 deals. We would have maybe done 20.
Yeah.
So it is, you do have to get out of your own way sometimes and get into the mindset of not what do I have to do, but who can I get to do it?
Absolutely. Well, I love that saying, in order to grow, you need to learn to let go. It's like if you don't and also, as Rob Moswell was saying as well, that you should outsource sooner than you think you need it if you want to scale, if you want to grow. So
definitely.
Paul, if you said that, that's really good that when you said the first person you've employed was the best person you could employ. Do you have any tips on employing, or was there anything you kind of follow, any criteria or anything? Was there anything you were looking for?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it depends from industry to industry. What I find in the trades industry, and I've learned this in the last sort of 6-7 months, is that I don't have time really to run the recruitment side of things effectively enough. So it started off by me just literally posting an ad on Indeed.com or something like that, and then trying to trawl through. But you when you're in those pinch points in the early stages of business, you are so desperate to get someone in to help you that you sometimes will overlook reference checks. You won't, and bits and pieces like that. So you do have to kind of, I've had to kiss a few frogs really to find the odd good one, which is another skill set, is letting people go.
I
That's the
bet
difficult one,
that
your
would
first
be
one.
my next question. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, it's now in the trades industry. I just rely heavily on a recruitment agency that I've built a relationship with, and they're great. So they just do that, and it does, because recruitment is a process that you need to invest in quite heavily if you want to get it right. So if you can outsource that to people who know how to do it. One of the engineers I've employed recently came through this recruitment agency, and the recruitment agency are that good that he doesn't even know where they got his details from, because he was headhunted. So
Wow. Wow.
I'm not getting these people on Indeed.com because they're not even looking for a job.
Yeah.
But I've got through the last 2 or 3 employees that I've recruited. I've actually been through a recruitment agency that have then actually headhunted these people for me. And
Nice.
the old saying, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Well, that's exactly right. So I insist on paying them more than probably the market rate, just so I get the best people in. Because I'm a firm believer, especially in the trades industry, that you can grow a 7-figure business from 5 people. You don't need more than 5 people to get above $1 million in turnover in
If you
a
get the
year.
right people.
If they're the right people and they're working,
and you have the right approach as well, like when it comes to training or and what responsibility you're giving them. Yeah, nice. Very nice.
And then on the property side, it's a slightly different ball game, because there's not as much as a high turnover of staff, but you've got to look at the quality of the people that you're bringing in, but also the contacts from the industries that they can bring in. So when we brought Donna in, for example, she was an ex-estate agent. She'd done lots of things in property already, so she already had foundations of how that industry worked. But she also brought in contact details of estate agents, links, and different really valuable contacts that we've been able to sort of leverage as well. So it's not always just about the person. I mean, Donna, like I said, great member of staff, but it's what they bring in as well, and who they're bringing to the team. So and with those good people, that's how you can just develop the business and just start aiming high then, because there's nothing more of a buzz than when I remember it in the plumbing industry, when I first saw some money drop into the account for a boiler job that I didn't know the lead had come in on. I hadn't rang the customer. I hadn't gone out and surveyed the job. I hadn't won the sale. I hadn't fitted the boiler, and I hadn't sent the invoice. So as far as I was concerned, that had never happened. Yet the money landed in the account, and I thought, well, that's quite a cool feeling.
Wow,
when you start to see that happening. And it doesn't always happen. There's still quite a lot of day-to-day things, as there are. I mean, anybody who sort of puts out that beach lifestyle of you can run a business, you'll set this business up and it'll always run. But if you want to run effectively, you can let operations go slightly in businesses, in most of them, but sales, frontline revenue, all that sort of stuff, I'm a firm believer that the owner typically has to be omnipresent and just all over that sort of side of things, because it's a constant evolving process in all industries, the sales, but without sales, your business dies.
And not very often you're going to find someone who's going to care for your own business more than you do. So it's like, if you're not there, no matter how good your management is or your team is, and they have initiatives and all that, let's face it, they still have, let's say it's a 9 to 5 for them, which for you is baby, it's what brings you money, it brings your income and the food on the table. So it is. It is slightly different, like slightly different, isn't it? But at the same time, as you said, now that occasionally you have this passive income feeling.
It's good. It comes once in a while.
Amazing. To be fair, I have experienced this as well with my business. When I went away for the first time, and I was like, you call it what it's called, stress testing, isn't it, your business?
That's it. Yeah.
And obviously with SA as well, which I was the operation manager still here, the guy on the ground, going away and just having a really well organized the team with my cleaners and the person who was backing me up if anything happened, and just the fact that I was really on the beach, and again, it's just occasionally that happens, that you can do that. But basically, I was like lying on the beach, replying to my guests with my phone. There was a problem, so I just sent a message to someone, and it was all fine. And I sat on that beach drinking my Bloody Mary, thinking, this is brilliant feeling.
Well, I'm hoping I get that soon, because I've got a holiday coming up, and it will be the first holiday that's been. I haven't had more than a weekend off now in about 2 years, because I've been so busy in trying to scale these things. And I am putting the processes, especially with the plumbing company, into place now where they know it's coming. And it's going to be in about 6 weeks' time. It's going to be a massive test for me for a week. And so the business is completely being left to Lindsay, Jess, Keith, Alex, and Pat just to run. And yeah, I'm actually going to mute the WhatsApp groups. I'm going to turn off and put on do not disturb on all the email boxes as well. And yeah, see what chaos ensues. But I'm hoping that I'll come back and I'll find out that they've actually run it better than I. I wouldn't be surprised. I do get in my own way sometimes. So yeah.
I remember. I can't remember who that was now. But when you're basically listening to stories of people who you admire. So I remember there was one millionaire was saying as well when the first time when on holiday came back and the staff actually they said that we were more productive when you were not here. They were like, can you just go back on holiday? I was like, just go again. It's like we had because obviously no one was following them and pestering them. It's like we were so happy. Like you just go back on holiday. Everything is sorted.
That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, I mean, thankfully, because I'm still in the plumbing world, trying to get myself away from certain mindsets. It's the reverse, but in the property world, it's kind of happened in the reverse. So it's always started with me being a lot more remote than anything, especially with my involvement. Yeah, Ben gets a lot more involved in that way than I do, which is great.
You know, it's that you have you've been working for the last 2 years, and you barely even had any days off, and I'm sure that prior to that as well, it's just life is busy, isn't it? But there's always there's a good reasons. Like this is one of my favorite sayings. You know, the one with entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most of the people wouldn't, so you can live the rest of your life as most of the people can't. And that's pretty much what it is, isn't it? Like you kind of like realize that if you are aiming the right direction, because obviously being busy as a busy fool obviously is not going to get you anywhere. So now when you are nice and organized, you're being busy with the right goals, with the right the right team and the right mentors, you're just going to work a bit harder now for a little period of time. So then you can just be you can work smarter, working
that's
hard
the plan.
to work smart.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that is the plan. I mean, I've had to do quite a bit of deep diving anyway into my own personal sort of feelings and emotions and things like that over the last few years, because I did realise after my first deal, which was a rent to SA deal, and I'd just signed the contracts and I was getting on the train back down, and I thought I would have been over the moon at that point, and I wasn't. I was actually quite depressed. So I did look into sort of that side of me a little bit more, and I realised that I actually get a lot of my pleasure in life and joy from the struggle and trying to achieve that goal rather than the actual achievement of it in itself. So now I've realised that it's at least I know it's there. So every time I get another member of staff, typically it buys me back about two hours of my time. But what I found in the last 2 years, I tend to then set up another business, or I'll set up another sort of stream, or I'll do something. And sometimes you need to put the brake on yourself and just say, you know what, you're probably spreading yourself a little bit too thin here. And I think it was one of my cousins actually who sent me a Facebook message a few months back and said, can you just explain what it is actually that you do? Because if there's a family member and watching on social media, what's Paul up to today? And it is true, but I think there's a lot to be said for that, because I always like to be on the go, and I like to get involved with new skill sets. I probably am guilty of not always finishing a skill set right to the end before moving on to the next one, but that's me. You've got to live with yourself sometimes as well, haven't you? So, and but yeah, I do enjoy. I just enjoy business.
Nice.
I think
and
when you get
the
that
journey,
point,
not just the destination.
well, that's it, yeah. Because people think, well, you're going to get good at business, then you're going to earn a load of money, and then you're going to retire, or then you're going to sit on a beach, or you're just going to drive around in your Ferrari all day. But those sort of things, they do. Not that I've got a Ferrari or retired yet, but little goals that I have set myself, which are more on the relaxation side, they just don't tick the boxes. And once you realise that you're never going to be happy with that. So you're actually happy in the business, and you're happy struggling, and you're happy trying to put teams together. then at least you can take your foot off the pedal a bit and just give yourself a break, you know, because you go, well, that's where I'm happy, so let's just stay there and keep running businesses.
Absolutely. And that's something what you don't realize straight away, do you? How long did it take you to realize that you're actually really, really loving? Oh no, that's what you said, that you realized that on the train, no? When you achieved that, when you did the first deal. So how long time ago was it your first deal? Because now you've got so many behind you.
That I was closing in on about 3 years ago, and it did kind of. The main thing I try and teach the mentees, especially the property side of things now, is when you ask people in property what their strategy is, and they'll say HMOs, they'll say SA, they'll say all sorts of different things like that. But your main strategy in property should be marketing for anything. So I went into my first property sort of forum thinking I want to do tenant buyers and I want to do lease options and things like that, because I'd actually got my own first house through a similar sort of setup to what a tenant buyer would be. And I thought there's a great market for that in the southeast, with house prices being so high. People who would naturally be a homeowner can't quite afford a 50, 60, 70 grand deposit. So I thought tenant buyer, that's where I'm going to go. And then in the end, it was a rent to SA. That was my first deal. And that came about because I knew a building firm, quite a large national building firm down in Kent, that were looking for contractor accommodation up in Middlesbrough. So I'm a great believer now in just saying yes first and getting on with it, and then just trying to work out the details later. So I did say to the director of this firm, yeah, you know what, I'll probably be able to sort you something out up there. And that deal did earn me a great deal of money for that first 6 months. But I wasn't looking to set up a rent to SA when I went into, but I just told people what I did, told people I was in property, whatever that phrase means. And then whatever came my way, I decided that's what I'm doing.
And tell everyone what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got to adapt. But the same happens with funding. So, I mean, we've had money lent to us now through people just watching what we've done in the last couple of years. And they approach us. And we're not giving, groundbreaking returns. I think somebody was asking for 6% the other day. We said, yeah, we can do that. We just put the money into one of our projects. But they also know that if they're getting their interest every month, they're never going to ask for that money back, because a bit like some of our foreign investors, it gives them the problem back. Yeah. So as long as they know their money's safe and they're earning their interest and getting paid monthly, then they're happy. But that's the importance of social media,
Absolutely. And I was actually about to ask you, like, for those who's listening, how long did it take you to be, so since you started to be like consistent on social media and telling people what you do, how long roughly it took you to people start approaching you?
I'd probably say about that.
Yeah, sorry.
I'd reckon about 8, 9 months, something like that, before people start showing a real interest and realize it's not just something that you're chatting about. So it starts off subtly with your friends and family sort of asking, so what actually is it, this property thing that you're doing? What are you doing in Peterborough? Because all roads seem to lead to Peterborough.
Why are you always walking with strappy shirts?
Why are you always up there? Why are you always walking under that overflow? But so it does take some time. So when people say, well, I've done 6 posts and I haven't been offered 100 grand yet, well, you're not going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the way it is.
Forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. Just wait for that to come round. But it's you have to be constantly present. There's and you don't always have to be. People get worried about content and stuff like that. But with the flood of social media now, I mean, I recently set up a TikTok sort of channel as well, just to sort of try that out. And like I said, my son, who's 11, is absolutely horrified that his dad's on TikTok.
Don't embarrass me.
Yeah, I know, and he's not allowed an account yet. But it's. But I just realised that content doesn't always have to be specifically business based. So if I'm trying to raise finance, I don't have to be constantly doing content about raising finance or what I'm doing in property. I put 3 or 4 business posts out on TikTok and they got 300, 1,000 views, something like that, which I thought for my first week on TikTok's not too bad.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I put on one video of me asking my dog if he wants to go walkies, and it's got nearly 500,000 views. And right. So
you're in the wrong industry, Mr. Selman.
Exactly. You just think, yeah, all right, I'll just talk about that and become an influencer.
Hey, I got this. Yeah. I'll be a dog whisperer.
Yeah, but I mean, if that's one bit of advice I can give to people, especially with the social media thing, is try and become the expert in something in a group of people that you are the only one. So when you post about property on a property forum, you're preaching to the converted. if you become a property expert or the trades expert or something like that, but in a group of people who like Labradors, like on TikTok, you might be the only property investor they know. So they're going to approach you and see you as that, that figure who's got that sphere of influence. So try and do that and break away, and don't be sort of too scared about posting on your own profile or getting torn down by the odd troll or something like that, because it really doesn't matter. And you will get more traction on the social media side than just preaching to the converted all the time.
Social media is just a very interesting thing. It's like if it's used right, if it's used the right way, it's such a powerful tool. Ultimately it's a free marketing if you know how to use it well. And as you said, a lot of people, they've made that mistake that they post 6 posts and they're like, "Where's my 500,000? Or where's my 100 grand?" It's like I've been consistent for the last, and it's like that's just not how it works. That's why I've asked you how long it takes you, because from interviewing people or from just talking to people within my network, nobody found a JV partner of finances in the first 6 months, for example, of starting on the social media. Like that's normal, because if someone wants to give you money, they need to trust you. They need to understand who you are a bit more. So be more consistent, as you said. And if you don't know what to post, just post things about what helped to change your mindset, about your new book you're watching, or new book you're reading, or new things you've learned, or a property meeting you went to. But just show people that you are active and you're working on your mindset, because it's not only about the business, isn't it? It's a lot to do with mindset, because if someone doesn't work on their mindset, how can I trust you're going to grow your business? It's like it's part of it, isn't it? So it's really, really important to just stay consistent. And I also found it really interesting. I personally also like when people mix a little bit of private life as well with their business, because it's not all about suits and business, little bit of a private life as well, to just show who you are, what you like doing outside of work and things like that. I found it's easier to trust someone when you just know a bit more.
Yeah, it is. And in anything, just that sort of approach to things is that there is a method behind that in the social media world and the marketing world in general. I think I've heard it referred to once as the jab, 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 punch. So you're literally just feeding a bit of personal content, bit of personal content. Now this is what I do for business. And there's actually a bit of a marketing strategy around that. But I think now with the invention of different platforms, people are doing that naturally. So they are giving different aspects of their life on different platforms. Because what you want to try and do is get a different following, because there's no point in someone following me on Facebook but then not following me on Instagram because the content is exactly the same. So you're not giving any value or added value there. So you need to kind of I do copy and paste different posts from different forums and things like that, but if you can try and get a little bit of separation, I found that works quite well.
That's a good tip. That's a good tip for me.
Well, with TikTok, it's definitely going to be dog based. That seems to be a real winner.
I'll be a big TikTok fan. I'm going to follow you right now.
That's it. Yeah. So that'll be good old Fred. He's an 11-year-old Labrador, and he went viral. So he's done all right.
Bless him. It's cute. Oh, so 11. So did you get him same time that your child when your son was born?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think there's 6 months in the age.
Very brave move. Nice, puppy and the baby.
He wasn't a puppy, thankfully. He was 3 years old already. I didn't have the stomach to get a puppy.
You have told me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was already trained. He could sit down and go. Yeah, he was good to go. Was Fred.
So you're gonna have a TikTok, as you said, and you heard different platforms for different things. So you're gonna TikTok for your dog videos now.
That's it. Yep.
Amazing. I've actually started. I'm one of those people who've created a Instagram account for the dog, but there's a reason for it. I'm like, I have a plan as well. But not everybody can see your plan, or if you don't know the plan, especially in the beginning when you just have a fresh account, small amount of followers, it doesn't look much to it. But I have a plan. I actually want to start with my dog doing agility training. So we want to do agility. So I want to be taking him to competitions and things like that, and then maybe one day even get him to play in a movie, because I wanted to. So that's why I started. I'm doing lots of reels and things like that. So I have some sort of place with all his training and things like that. So you just never know. But again, like I'm not, but my Facebook, when people follow me for the property reasons, or my other Instagram account, people don't even know about that account I have. So it's just one of those things that I just have another little plan outside of property, started to work on it. No one need to know.
Well, they say the average millionaire's got 7 income streams, don't they? So, you know, and I'm on 3, so that's why I'm not a millionaire yet.
Exactly. Fantastic. Paul, now we've mentioned a book before. You mentioned that you've read the No Money Down, which is an amazing book. It's also on the Audible for those who's listening, and for those who haven't read or listened to that book yet. It's a really fantastic book by Kevin McDonnell. Now, what other books did you read or listen to and changed your life?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's been so many, to be fair. I wasn't, prior to the last 3 years, an avid reader or even an avid listener, but Audible is something that's definitely changed the game for me, because especially with the amount of traveling I do, I tend to find that a book that maybe might have taken me 6 months to a year to actually get around to reading, well, I can be done in a week now, while I'm on the road. Another good one for me would be a book by Neville Wright. I've got a lot of time for that man. I don't know him personally. I've only met him a couple of times, but I think his story is just really inspiring. And there's similar aspects that have stood out for me as well. So he started as with a bit of scrim cloth and just started cleaning windows. And then he ended up selling kiddie care for about 70 million, I think it was. And if you ask him now, he's in property. You go, oh, how much property you got? And he's got multi-million, about 100 million pounds worth of property. So in property,
Yeah, wow.
I think the concept, that's it. And I think the concept behind that book is the answer is yes, and then you ask the question. So just commit, which is something that I do. Yeah, exactly. And I take forward that in my own life. So that book was a really good one for me. And then there's been a few that are more outside of the business range. So that I liked a couple of Tyson Fury's ones and Middleton ones. Those sort of personal stories, I have a lot of time for that. And even Will Smith's one recently. That's been a real.
I started listening to that one now. I'm falling asleep to that one now.
Oh, it's great.
And I love the fact that he narrated himself as well.
Yeah,
it's like you get the real feeling,
real story, feel for it. Yeah. But people don't seem to see that struggle. Like I said, the people can always see the shiny bit. So with Tyson Fury, you do get a little bit of the drama behind the scenes. Will Smith, I wasn't aware of any of that that had gone on before. And even with, like I said, the likes of Ant Middleton and
building that wall, with his brother.
Building a wall with his brother. Yeah, and when Ant talks about the fear bubble, because that's one of his books, and I suffered from that. I would literally, especially early in days, I was scared of standing up in front of a group of people on stage or anything like that. And I used to literally sit there in the audience and think, in a half an hour, I'm going to be asked to stand up there. And the anxiety that used to go on was just ridiculous, to the point where I had to, actually get a bit of professional help for it.
Yeah.
And it was literally just putting yourself in, just seeing it as, well, the fear bubble's over there. I'm not there yet. So let's just chill out while I'm over here, Yeah, and it was like using processes like that have kind of helped me get over that now. And now you can't shut me up on stage. Any opportunity I get, I'm in, I'm going.
It was no problem for you to record the episode. I was like, Paul, can we record it? Yes, I'm in.
Yeah, that's it. Let's talk. Yeah, I like talking. So, but it's true, and it is all those books. You can't underestimate the power of them. And turn the TV off. I haven't watched the news now for over a year.
Me too. I have way over that. I don't listen to news. Yeah. If you need to know something, you will hear it through social media or word of mouth. But yeah, it's not like you're never going to find. It's not like I'm not going to watch news, so I'm not going to know about COVID. It's like you hear what you need to hear. Exactly,
and you probably hear a lot less than you need to in a lot of industries, because you're not getting bombarded with it. So you're going to bombard yourself with something. Bombard yourself with something that makes you feel good. So
it's like a food for the brain, isn't it? So it depends. What you're feeding your brain with, it will going to show in your life. So
yeah, definitely. And like I said, I've always got some sort of book on the go. I think I'm listening to Trevor McDonald's one at the moment. So I always like to have the personal ones rather than just business. My life in general is business. When I get traveling, I'd like to hear about the other side of things and people's personal lives, because then you do equate that to some of the struggles that you're going through, and you think, you know what, all right, well, maybe I am still on the right track, because you naturally, as a business owner, all the time doubt yourself. I'm a massive sufferer of things like imposter syndrome and things like that, and I think a lot of business owners are. And but it comes as part of the course, because unfortunately, when you're at the top of a company, you don't always have somebody guiding you unless you're paying for mentorship. It's a really lonely place sometimes. So joint ventures and mentorship are just no-brainers for me now, because it's like I said, it doesn't only speed the process up, but it makes it a lot more enjoyable.
Absolutely amazing. So so you got so education, books, it's a big part of your life, constant working on your mindset. That's very important, and it just shows, doesn't it, how you can't just stop. If you can, because it's absolutely okay. Some people have, everybody has different desires in life, and different levels they want to achieve. So if something works perfectly fine for you, that's fine. But if you are desiring more, then it's like being a forever student, isn't it? You kind of have to make a peace with the fact that you're going to be forever student. And I call myself forever student, and it's like, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go to university in your 50s, but that does mean exactly what you just said. And be careful what you're listening to or what you're watching, and choose what's the name of that show I've never watched? It starts with H, and Hollyoaks.
Hollyoaks, all right, okay, yeah.
Yes, Hollyoaks. It's just
I haven't watched it for a while.
It's just an example of something what I've accidentally here, and it was in a room, which not in my house, it was in a room, and I've heard so much drama. This is my baby, and this is his baby, and this is and I'm thinking, I was like, what is that? I was like covering my ears. I was like, what is that? Checked, and I was like, Hollyoaks. I was like, okay. Then I watched it, and then I've learned how big
yourself, turn it off.
Then I've learned about, that was my big, like that was like years ago, and then I've learned how big that show is in the UK, and I'm thinking, wow, this is interesting. It's like that there's so many things like that out there. If you're listening to it, if you're watching too much of things like that, it's too much drama and too much negativity and all that. I was like, wow. Yeah, that to me, that was one of the first. That was when I was changing my mindset and my blueprint from the past, etc. So yeah, that to me, that was a big opener. I was like, no, be careful what you're putting in your brain.
Definitely, yeah. What you're exposing yourself to on a daily basis definitely helps. 100%.
Exactly. Now, Paul, I also always ask my guests what they would recommend to a listeners to watch if you would watch something. I know we've already said that you don't really listen to watch news, and you read lots of books. But if you do watch something, what would you recommend?
Yeah, there's two sort of aspects to that, I suppose. I do like my documentaries and things like that, but I think even if I'm not sort of tuning into them, I think having that sort of it's kind of like a peaceful watching, really, and that might be me showing my age and being a bit boring these days, but getting out into the countryside and climbing mountains and bits and pieces like that are things that I would like to do more of, and I can kind of just keep in touch with that sort of side of things on the TV until I actually have the time to do it. So it's probably something, like I said, I should make more time for. And there was a documentary I think we even spoke about on the last one, wasn't it, with 14 Peaks?
14 Peaks.
Yeah, I did like that. It was great.
Amazing. For those who haven't watched it, just very literally in one sentence. So for most of the people, climbing one massive mountain or one of the biggest mountains in the world would be a lifetime achievement. That person, which I can't remember the name, from the 14 Peaks, he's done 14 highest peaks in the world in 6 months. Unbelievable. Yeah, called the Mission Impossible. Sorry, continue, just for those who haven't watched it.
And it's stuff like that I like to get into, because it's got a bit of the outdoors side of thing that is missing from my life, so I can kind of escape there at 8 and 9 o'clock at night, just for half an hour on the TV. But yeah, there's got to be some sort of story behind it. I haven't really got much time for reality stuff. I'm actually quite bad with celebrity things. I've been in bars and restaurants before, and people I'm with have said, "Oh, look who's over there," and I've got no idea.
Same. I'm absolutely the same.
Yeah, I could just walk past them in the street, and even down to I'm not a great follower of sports, really. I do like taking part in things, but it always tend to be more sort of solo ones. So like, I don't know, climbing. I like sailing and bits and pieces like that, but football's never really floated my boat. So I could walk past half the England squad, I reckon, and not know It's just, so people find their interest, don't they? That's what it is really for me.
Absolutely. So what is if you say you're not really follow sports, but you like outdoors and things like that, so do you follow, I would say that do you like people like Bear Grylls? Would you watch Bear Grylls documentaries? That's really cool, isn't it? Yeah, like outdoors.
Yeah, there's Bear Grylls, Ed Stafford, Ant Middleton, Aldo Kane. He's a more of a lesser known one, normally because he's behind the camera or rigging, climbing things and things like that. But I've listened to his book as well, and when you look about his story about working on the rigs, but he really wanted to be in filming. So he was literally just between two lives at one point. So he'd be sort of working on the rigs and then trying to build up a filming career on the outside. And you think, so people might look at him now and just think, all right, he's hanging around with all these cool people and he's an adventurer and things like that. But go back only 5 years or so, maybe longer. He was in the forces like I was, and he was working on an oil rig, struggling to get along. So people do only see the top of the peak and the bit of success, and they just think they're just going to get there.
Yeah. We've mentioned this before, didn't we, Paul? On the last episode about, I was giving this example about being a rock star. So that's a very, very common example. Like loads of people think, I would love to be a rock star. I want to be a rock star. I want to be a rock star, until they actually learn about all these gigs they have to do and all these sacrifices and weekends and evenings and being away from a family and friends and all these free events they need to do in order to get in all this. And it's like, would you be willing to do that? No. Well, in that case, you might not want to be a rock star. You don't want to be a rock star. You just like the idea of it, not the journey, just the destination. And that's wrong, isn't it? As we said, that you need to enjoy the journey. Definitely.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and two of my mentors is Dan and Jamie, because they're in the sourcing game like us as well. A part of one of their businesses, they've got many. And you see the graph that those two have put in all the way through their 20s. I mean, if I'd known some of the stuff that they'd known in their 20s when I was in my 20s, God knows where I'd be now. But you're ready for stuff when it comes. But yeah, I mean, those two have massively helped me out over the last couple of years as well, and pointing me in the right direction. And some of the mentoring sessions aren't even always based around just business content. They seem to be a bit more sort of self-helpy, which is good. And because you've got to look at taking care of yourself while these businesses are growing, and if you let it run away from itself, then you're not too many steps from burnout sometimes. So yeah, definitely.
You've mentioned Jamie as well. Jamie was on my show as well. Which was a fantastic episode as well. It was about the deal packaging and the mindset. But I just want to say that coincidentally, Jamie just came from was it a month in the mountain or something like that?
I think he just got back from Argentina, I think.
I was just recently seen his post about the beard he grew and then his back being shaved.
Yeah, loves it.
We've just been talking about outdoors and hiking and all that outdoor activities.
That's a prime example of where I want to get to, because I'd love to do more of that. Are my businesses at the point now where I could go away for 6 weeks? No. To be fair, my income isn't at the point where I could probably go away for 6 weeks either. But you've got to aim for something. So one day, Jamie, I might get up the mountain with you.
Yeah. Plus, don't forget that you also have a family. Jamie doesn't have a family yet.
Yeah, that could be a sticking point on going away for 6 weeks.
You can't really okay, I can go with my business is looked after. That's fine. I have a right income. Yeah, the kids.
I
forgot about the tiny detail.
That's it, and the Labrador and the cat and
all these dependents.
I don't think I'd swing that one.
One day they will grow up.
That's it.
And there we go. Fantastic. Oh, Paul. Well, I really, really enjoyed having you on the show today again, twice
this
week.
Great. Yeah.
Now, just for those, before you go, can you just tell where people can find you? If they want to follow you or they have any questions?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm on Facebook just as my personal profile. So Paul Selman. We do have the B-Hive property community as well that you can log on to on Facebook, and we do property advice and bits and pieces like that on there as well. Obviously on Instagram as well, Selman Paul, I think it is, because Paul Selman was taken. And I'll try and get as much information about the TikTok channel as we can, really. Any Labrador tips, follow me on TikTok.
How to take Labrador for a walk.
Yeah, that's it.
Amazing. I need to go and watch that video. I've heard about that video and I saw your post. I haven't watched that video. I need to go and watch that video. So
it's still going. It's getting about 100 views a day now, so it's slowing down. But at one point, it was up to about 100 views a minute. So it's going a bit mad.
Now.
It's all good stuff.
Yeah, I think you should make one dog video again, just from market research point of view, genuinely to see if if that actually is what interests your followers on TikTok at the moment. So
yeah. Well,
interesting.
when I launched that video, I only had 9 followers, and then I think by the end of it, we had 400 within 2 weeks. So I think most of my followers now are dog lovers. So that's I'm happy to hack that algorithm.
Fantastic. Oh, that's amazing. Oh yeah, Paul, and just I forgot to ask you, which I always ask, top 3 tips from Paul before we sign off.
Okay. Commit and take action on what you're going to do. If a mentor, especially, or if someone tells you that something's a good idea, it's only going to lead to its success if you actually go ahead and do it. And that's the difference now in the last year or two of mentoring that I've seen, that the people who are getting results are the ones that are actually going away and just doing the simple things. Kind of linked to that is get out of your own way. So you have to become really good in the end at analyzing what your thought process is. So I've been trying to launch a YouTube channel now for 4 months. In reality, I haven't actually been trying hard enough at all. And I think the barriers there are, 1, content, what will I talk about? 2, setting up technical equipment. But it doesn't matter what I do, I'll always find something else to do before I then start this YouTube channel. But at least now I've realized that that's the mental blocker. So at least I can deal with something. It's not that I don't have the time, it's that I haven't quite got there mentally to
make
start doing
time
it.
for it. Yeah, you don't make
I'm
time.
not making time of it. Because you will do. There's if you want to really do something seriously, that time just falls into place. And then probably my third one would be, if you're trying to excel in business, then try and link it to something that's completely unrelated, a little bit like a hedge, really. So I'd try to improve my fitness at the same time as my businesses, and that's helped me no end, because it does give you another sense of focus that's non-business related, another target, another goal. And in the process, if you've got a healthy body, you've got a healthy mind as well. So I believe that, doing that sort of fitness and taking care of yourself, even down to limiting drinking compared to, I think when I was in the Navy, I was on 20-30 cigarettes a day. I'd easily drink pretty much every day of the week. Not an alcoholic, but, you'd probably be 20 years away from becoming one, if I carried on down that journey. And then I'm probably 2 glasses of wine a month type person now. So look after yourself personally, as well as not just focusing on the business or your burnout.
I love that. Fantastic tips. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Paul, you were absolutely amazing today. Again, the second time this week.
Thank you. Yeah.
I had
just rehearsal.
Yeah, exactly. You provided so much value and so much inspiration. So yeah, thank you so much. If there's anything else is there anything else you want to add? We're going to sign off for today, but yeah, as I said, thank you again, and have a fantastic rest of the day. I can't wait for the episode to go live, and I'll let you know when.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers. Thank you.
Well, bye.